back to another episode of the Fitness Beginner Podcast, where we help you get started on your fitness journey. How's it going, everybody? I hope y'all had a great weekend and you're starting the week off right. If you're listening to this on a Monday, but yeah, we're bringing another podcast topic to y'all, and we have an interesting one to talk about today. Some of the older crowd would be excited to listen to this one. I'm actually super pumped about today's podcast topic. I got a lot of questions for our guest to come on today, and I'm going to bring him up onto the screen now. We have Mr. Michael Ungar joining us on the podcast today. So first off, I just want to say thank you for joining the podcast. We always like when we have guests on, so we can talk about certain topics and areas that they specialize in. So I'm looking forward to it. But just to give you a quick little idea of what the podcast is about and who we are. So this is called the Fitness Beginner Podcast, and the whole idea is just to help people get started, help people get motivated, help people learn a little bit about fitness. I normally keep things to like a basic level when I'm on here by myself, and then when we have people on, we'll dive deeper into certain topics. Like today, we'll dive deeper into certain areas today. So that's pretty much how the podcast, what it's about, and what we do here. So if you would you just introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Michael Ungar. I live in the Cleveland area. I am the owner and operator of At Home Senior Fitness. Our business has been going for about 6 years now. Started a few months into the pandemic. I was working as a personal trainer at a local gym after a long career doing something else, a second career for me. And I decided about a year into working at a gym that I wanted to go into business for myself. And the model I had was to work with trainers, work with seniors, with older adults at their homes. So either in person, which was the original plan, but then once the pandemic came and we all discovered that we could do things on Zoom. So I would say about 30% of my clients are on Zoom. And I've had clients as far west as the San Francisco Bay Area. I've got currently clients in New Jersey, the Bronx. People go down to Florida, Chicago, Texas, and then in the Cleveland area, I have a sort of a territory that I'm willing to go visit people in their homes. So that's what we do. I have three other trainers who work with me, and we try to cover the west side and the east side of Cleveland.
Awesome. So I really like your clientele, like your niche, because I think it's such an important clientele that needs help. They really do. And I mentioned earlier, I'm excited about today's podcast because I actually had like my grandparents getting to that age where they could use some help, and even my wife's grandparents, they've actually had several falls at this point, and it's starting to get like a little concerning. So I'm glad to pick your brain today so I can get some ideas to try to maybe we can try and help them out a little bit.
Sounds
So
good.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. So you mentioned this is your second career. So what kind of got you into fitness? Later as a second career in life, what kind of got you into fitness?
My first career was that I was and still am a rabbi. So I was, like the pastor of a large congregation. At one point, I was given, as I think a birthday present or a Father's Day gift, a gift certificate for six personal training sessions. And I did not grow up as in a family that put a value on athletics. I did 1 year of little league baseball. It was just like not a thing in our family. We went to football games, like we watched college football and stuff, but didn't really participate. But I got this gift certificate, and I went, and the personal trainer, as they say, could have crushed me like a chicken bone. So there was no way that I was gonna like not do what this guy told me to do, and that started it. I started working with him once or twice a week. Then there were, people at the gym who I got to know, and I sort of got really involved. That was when I lived in Toledo. I moved to Columbus from Toledo in 2002, and then started a gym there, and was fortunate to have really two just extremely able personal trainers there. One who just really whipped me into shape, and the other one who got me into like competitive stuff, like obstacle course races and 5Ks and half marathons and stuff like that. So that's how I got into it. When my career as a rabbi sort of came to an end about 8 years ago, I still do have a very small congregation in the Cleveland area. But when I stopped doing it full time, I was sort of figuring out like what sorts of things would I like to do with the rest of my life, and love going to the gym, and figured, wow, this would be a great way for me to be in the gym and make a difference in people's lives, and hopefully set an example as an older adult becoming a trainer. I was in the class that I took at Ohio State University to become a trainer. I was the oldest one in the class, easily by 3 decades, easily. And yeah, so that's how I started this work. And like I said, after a couple of years working at the JCC and into the pandemic, I started visiting people at their homes, and that got my business going. And since then, I've just learned a tremendous amount from continuing education and from going to conferences. But I've just learned a tremendous amount from my clients, who present with all kinds of different issues. And then it's up to me to do the research and find out, okay, if he's had this surgery, what can I do? If she's got this condition, what can I not do? So it's been a real learning experience for me.
Hmm. And I gotta ask, you mentioned college football. I gotta ask, who's your team? You
So
said
just so you
Ohio
should know,
State.
I grew up in Michigan, and my family are rabid, rabid Michigan fans. I have lived in Ohio since 1997. My wife and her entire family, two of my kids went to Ohio State, so I am definitely a Buckeyes fan.
So you made that transition, huh?
Right? Yes, I was
I,
that the right answer? Or
well, I don't. It don't matter to me because once you'll see my team, I'm
yeah.
kind of
Oh, you're Auburn. Okay.
I'm in the same boat. So like I know Michigan Ohio State's huge, but
Yeah, huge
just like
rivalry.
yeah,
Yeah,
in the South, Auburn Alabama's the same way.
you
So it's
bet.
I understand completely. Um, yeah, I'm a huge Auburn fan. I graduated from Auburn. Mom went to Auburn, so I was born and raised Auburn fan. So unfortunately, it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle the
Yeah,
past few
yeah.
years. But Ohio State's been killing it, man. Ohio State's
Oh
got it
man,
going on.
ever since I moved to Ohio, they've just been great, great fun to watch.
Oh yeah, I bet it's nice smack talking the family back at home, huh?
Yeah.
I know. Hey, Michigan's they've won a few recently. They've been doing pretty good too. But
Yeah, you know what? My family has a little bit of an attitude. My sister actually works at the university. I have a nephew who works at the university, and they have a little bit of an attitude of superiority at Michigan. But
mm,
I'm grateful to both universities. When I was a kid, I was very sick, and I was taken to the University of Michigan Children's Hospital, and they within 2 days figured out what was going on and got me treated. And I have a son who graduated from Ohio State, who's on the autism spectrum, and he's fully employed. I'm like in his condo, has his own car and everything, which never would have been possible at Michigan. So I have my appreciation for both schools.
awesome. That's pretty cool. I like the rivalry, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to like people, everybody comes together. So
Yep,
I
yep,
really like
indeed.
that, especially here in the South. Like, yeah, there's a big not controversy, a big rivalry between Auburn and Alabama. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to like just people in general, where everybody's kind of friendly and they're willing to go the extra mile to help each other out. So
Sure, sure.
I think that's really big. That's why I love college football. I'm not really a professional football guy. Like I could care less about the NFL. I'm all college all day.
I hear you. That's I'm the same way.
All right. So what drew you to the older generation? So what about what age? What's your average age clientele that you have?
So we advertise, and our website says you have to be 55 and older.
Hmm.
So my youngest clients are, I think my youngest client's 59. We have a new client we just picked up who's 60. My oldest client's 97. And I've got, there's that whole spread. I've got people in their late 60s. Most people are late 60s, 70s. I have some early 80s, but I also have some older 80s as well. So everybody, and each one is trained in their own way, obviously.
Hmm.
But I was drawn to it because I was certified at the age of 55. And as I said, I was like the oldest one in my class. And when I was working at, like I said, at a local gym, a lot of the older people at the gym would see me training and see there was one other older adult who was working there as a trainer, a female, and they would see us and they would ask questions, and people sort of knew that I was a rabbi as well, so that was like sort of an interesting thing for them, and so that's sort of drew a lot of older folks who didn't want to work with someone who was like really young and didn't understand what their issues were. By the time I was 55, I'd already had, like hernia surgery, like things had happened. So I understood what some of this was. And since then, in the last 8 years, I've had other things too. So now I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah, you've got that. Yeah, I had that too 4 years ago. So let's, work on it. And there's actually a big article probably about 6, 7 years ago in the New York Times about how older adults are actually looking for older trainers, and there's really a shortage of older trainers. But every year when I go to like fitness conventions, I am really positively surprised that I'm seeing more and more older trainers. I don't know if they're only working with older adults or if they're working with all age groups. But I have worked when I was working at the JCC, that's the Jewish Community Center in Cleveland. I had a client who was a sophomore in high school, and then I had people who were in their 80s. So I was training all those, but I really decided like this is the age group to focus in on. And I went to get some training at one of the conferences through the Functional Aging Institute. And I was like, man, this is the place to do it. You get the most loyal clients. Some younger people, they'll join a gym because there's a special offer, and then there's another special offer at another gym, and then there's jump to the other gym, and there's not a whole lot of loyalty. But when you get, and I mean, I have clients I've been with since I was working at the JCC, so I've got clients I've been working with 7.5 years, and I only moved to Cleveland 8 years ago, so that's like almost the entire time that I'm here. So it's a great group to work with, and they. I've seen some go through all kinds of changes from being really mobile to having mobility issues and working on trying to keep them independent. And then I've seen vice versa. I've had people who've come to me with real mobility issues who started with a walker and then graduated to a cane and then graduated to walking without any assistive devices. So for me, it's really exciting. It gives me a lot of I'm trying to think of the word. It gives me a lot of uh,
Gratitude, satisfaction.
yeah, satisfaction. I think that's what we're looking for. It makes you
Mhm.
feel good, and it fills you with a certain. I mean, it's great to get paid. Don't get me wrong. I don't do it for free, but it also gives you this feeling of doing something good for someone and see a difference. And I have like several of my clients who are just star clients who just look amazing. You look at old pictures of them and you're like, oh my gosh, like, do you remember when we started and you couldn't do this and you couldn't do that and whatever? So yeah. So that's what drew it to me was just, it's a great age group to work with. They're very loyal and also very understanding. Like if I call up and say, hey, I've got a funeral or I've got this or I'm not feeling well, they're cool. Some younger people, I mean, I remember because I was like this when I was younger too. They flip out if their trainer's not available. So
Yeah, I think you have a very smart like idea of working with the older generation. I think it's very smart because more and more people are realizing, hey, they need help. They're starting to get to that point where they haven't used a walker. They may have fallen a couple times already, or they can just feel themselves, struggling to get up and out of a chair.
right,
So
right.
I think it's a great age group to work with, and I do think it helps you. You said the older people they like an older trainer. I do think that's true too because a lot of times they think these young people don't know nothing, but I mean a lot of times that's true. A lot of times it's the case.
So
But I
I
mean
hate to
there are some
say it,
young ones
but
that are.
you know, I, I've had several clients say to me, "You are the first client with whom I've worked where I'm seeing results and I haven't gotten hurt."
Hmm.
Because a lot of times, it's not just that I'm older, it's that I've had the training, right?
Hmm.
And if you don't have the training, a lot of people think, oh, so all I have to do is the same thing I would do with a 20-year-old, but I'm just going to use lighter weights or less reps. You know what I mean? But that's not it at all because it's when you're working with older adults, generally speaking, the goals are very different, right? So if you're
Mm-hmm.
working with a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old, like they're very concerned about their appearance, or either that, or performance, if they're playing tennis or sports or whatever. That's what they're concerned about. Older adults are like, I used to be able to climb the stairs without huffing and puffing. That's what I want to get back to, being able to do that. Or I had a client who was like, I'm going to Australia for 3 weeks, and it's part of a tour group, and I don't want to be the one who's like sitting back on the bus. I want to see everything and do everything. So people's goals are very different, and so that's what you train for. You train for what people need and where they see their deficits. And the first thing I do when I start with a new client is do an assessment and say, hey, you know what, your strength is good, but your balance is a mess. Or I see that you've got mobility issues, or this shoulder is higher than the other shoulder. There's all kinds of things that we can notice, and then focus on that instead of, like, how fast can we get your serve, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely takes somebody with some experience to know what they're doing to work with that age group of people. Because, like you said, they'll get hurt. They could get hurt really quick, especially if you got them doing some stuff that they shouldn't be doing.
Right,
They could
right.
get hurt really quick, and then that's going to set them way back, and it's going to be even harder to get those results that you're looking for. But yeah, so what? I'm assuming the number one thing you probably see with this age group is falls. Is that right? Is that like probably the number one injury you see is from a result of
So
falling?
yeah, if I have a client and then all of a sudden I don't have a client anymore, it's usually a fall. But
Mm-hmm.
usually what happens is it's, like something odd or weird, and this, I mean, it just happens. But one of the things I work with my clients a lot is lower body strength and balance. So what we try to do is prevent those, and then of course I get people who have had a fall, and they finished doing physical therapy, and then the physical therapy is done, and they're like, okay, but I feel like I need to keep doing it. So that's how I get clients. As a matter of fact, um, there's a couple of physical therapists I used after I had some surgeries. I had a bicep surgery, and I had an issue with my back, and they now are referring their clients to me when they're done with their series of PTs. So it's, like, they'll
Mm-hmm.
say, like, oh yeah, so and so sent me from the Cleveland Clinic PT, and I was like, oh yeah, I know who that is. So yeah, that's the way that I'm getting some of those people. And the falls is like a huge concern. That's one of the things that older adults fear the most, is the fall. So we work on that, and there's, certain exercise that we do that really work on, if you're starting to feel like you've lost your balance, or you're feeling off center. Like, how do we train your body? How do we do these exercises on a regular basis to train your body to get back into balance? And I work with my clients on a regular basis doing that sort of thing, and it makes a difference. And then also, if you're down, what do you do? If you do go
Mm-hmm.
down, can you get up off the floor? And that's also one of the things that we work on. And one of the first questions I ask my clients is, can you get up and down off the floor? Because some young trainers don't ask that question, and then they'll get their person down on the floor, and then they can't get them up. And I always say, I
Mm-hmm.
go, we're not getting you on the floor unless we got a plan to get you up. So we work on that as well. And I had a client once who fell, and he didn't hurt himself. And he said, the best part was, like, I didn't have to call 911. He said, like, I used what you told me. I rolled onto my side. I did this. I did that. I crawled over the chair. Once I got to the chair, I sat there. I caught my breath, and I was fine. I was achy. I was hurt. I had a couple bruises, but we didn't call 911. And that's a big deal. That's a part of having your independence, knowing that you've got the self work, the self efficacy, like that belief that you can do it, which is really big, because as we get older, things that we used to be able to do, that we
Mm-hmm.
can't do as well as we used to do. So to be able to learn to have a new skill that you can do is really liberating.
Yeah. So I want to go deeper into that topic a little bit. So first, I want to talk about what are some exercises or some things you have your clients do to work on their balance first, like to work on their balance to prevent the fall. And then I'm going to ask you that same question. You kind of mentioned a little bit. What are some things that you work on once they do fall and they're on the ground? What are some things they work on to then
Sure.
get up? So just kind of run through that.
So on a regular basis, I would say 95% of every session that I have with a client, there might be some reason that we skip it very rarely, but we work on lower body strength. So we're going to be working on exercises that are for the calves, for the glutes, for the quads, and we make sure that the hamstrings are pretty well stretched out as well. Teaching my clients how to do lunges, forward lunges, reverse lunges, lateral lunges, all those really important. Squats, huge. I mean, I tell people, like, if you're only going to do one exercise the rest of your life as an older adult, the squat is it. Of course, that's easier said than done because
Mm-hmm.
most people think a squat is a deep knee bend. So you got to teach them the right way to do it so that they don't destroy their knees. And then we also do calf raises. There's a whole bunch of exercises like that I do. In terms of, and that's just for strengthening the lower body, right? In terms of exercising specifically for balance, there are a number of activities that work. So I do a lot of like walking down a hallway, turning your head from side to side. So what that does is, some people have balance problems that are based on vestibular issues. So that's like inside your head, inner ear stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get dizzy or you get lightheaded and you're off balance. And what do you do? So what this does is it trains them to, walking with your head going from side to side. It trains you to keep walking and to stay in balance even when your head feels like it's not in balance, right? It's also, we joke about it's also great if you get pulled over by the cops, right? Um, the other one is similar, but instead of turning your head from side to side, it's looking up at the ceiling and then looking down at the floor. And people have their which one is more difficult for them and the other. And then we also do walking backwards, which you'll sometimes see people at the gym who are like on a treadmill walking backwards, and everyone thinks like, oh, what are they doing that for, right? But it's as we get older, it's actually really good to work those opposing muscles, but also to feel comfortable with putting your foot backwards, because if you lose your balance, you need to move quickly, and sometimes that involves moving one foot back so that you don't go backwards. And okay, so there's also exercises where we work with getting my clients to react quickly to something, and because part of the problem is, like you might not know that you're going down, but you just don't have the reaction time. So part of what we do is train for that as well. There's an exercise called rock the boat where you sort of go back and forth. On your feet, like balance on one foot, then balance on the other foot. And it's just moving the center of gravity back and forth and to come back to the middle. And I see that I froze here for a second.
Yeah, it's cutting out a little bit.
All right, I'm back. Are you
s-
back?
yeah, can you hear me?
All right. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but
Yeah, I can hear you now.
it's a
Okay.
little lagging. Okay, we'll
I don't know what happened
just
there.
go with it. Just go with
It's my
it.
okay. It's my son's Wi-Fi. Okay. All right. And then we've got leg balance and tandem stance. Just learning to balance on one foot and learning to walk in like one foot right in front of the other, a tandem walk. Just basically teaching people how to walk in really difficult situations so that when they're doing normal walking, it doesn't feel like it's an issue. They feel like I'm prepared, and I have the muscle memory that if I start to feel myself going one way or the other way, I know how to react because I've been training to do it. So those are some of the main exercises that we do. There are other ones that you could do at a gym, but again, we're at someone's house. They might have a fitness center in their apartment building or their condo complex, but just trying to find simple ways and exercise that when they're done, they can like walk in the hallway of their own home and do these same exercises.
Hmm. Absolutely, and I have to agree with you on the squat. If you said if you could do one lower body exercise, yeah, it would be the squat. I agree with that one. But you got to squat
Right. And
right.
some people, it's just a sit and stand. It's like sit, stand, sit, stand,
Hmm.
sit, stand. I go, it's the same thing as a squat, but yeah.
You don't
So
realize how
you
many.
had you had another question. It was specific exercises for balance, and then what was the
Yeah.
other one? Or did I answer it?
Now the next question I wanted to ask was, if somebody does fall and they're on the
Oh, if they
ground,
do fall, right.
then what do you? What are some exercises they can do to help them get off the floor? And two, like, what is kind of your protocol in that moment for them to get up? Like, how do they get up? I know you just mentioned like roll on your side, go to the chair. What is like
Right,
your
right.
protocol to help them
So
get up?
this is part of the reason why we do some of our mobility exercises, some of our stretches, because getting up is going to involve, you're going to have a little bit of mobility in the lower body to be able to move a leg or whatever, but also upper body strength so that you're able to push yourself up, once you get yourself to a chair, or that you've got the upper body strength and the core strength to be able to crawl over to a couch or a chair, or a railing to help get yourself out. But I always tell people, I go, the first thing that you need to do if you've fallen is just like sort of do a body scan, right? Is what hurts? Is anything broken? Am I bleeding? Is anything sticking out where it shouldn't be sticking out? And if the situation doesn't seem bad, and you're just sort of startled, then you need to try to get on your side if you can. And one of the ways to do that is to bend one knee, and then have one leg out straight, and then turn that knee that's bent over so it sort of forces your body to twist over to one side. And usually that will be enough to get you onto your side. Once you're on your side, you bend your knees, try to get your knees up underneath you, and then you use your hands to push yourself up. So you basically, if you know anything about yoga, what you want to do is you want to get to tabletop position, which is basically, or it's also called quadruped stance, which is standing, just being on hands and knees, like a little toddler crawling. Once you're there, then you can crawl, even if it's going to hurt your knees a little bit. Like, you need to get yourself to a couch, a chair, whatever it is, so that you can get yourself up off the floor.
So when you're doing these, when you're having them do these exercises, some of them probably. Well, how are you? How are they performing them? Are they doing them just body weight exercises? Do you have some of them using weights? Are you using like barbells and dumbbells? I'm sure it's going to differ depending on the client because like some clients
Right.
probably can
So
barely do
I
a
have
body
in
weight
the I have in
squat.
the back of my car, in my trunk, I have some dumbbells, I have some resistance tubes, and I have some ankle weights. So most of my clients do have dumbbells. And so the weight will depend on what their capability is. And, sometimes I'll say to a client, I'll be like, you're using fives, you definitely need to order some eights, right? And they have no excuse. You can get it on the internet, or there's sporting goods stores all over the place. Like, just go get some 8 pounders or whatever. So we do a fair number of exercises that are body weight. There's a tremendous amount that you can do with body weight, especially when we're talking core exercises, and that's core exercises on the mat or core exercises standing or in a chair. And we usually do I usually like to do groups of four. So if we're doing upper body, we'll do like a set of bicep exercises, a set of shoulder exercises, a set of tricep exercises, and then a set of lower arm exercises. So like maybe wrist curls or whatever. So that because my clients, most of them are half hour, and some of them are 45 minutes. I got a couple who do an hour, but most of them are half hour because they in general poop out too quickly. It's hard for some older adults, especially the older ones, to go for a long time. So what I do is I really try to like organize the workout in a way that they're working different parts of the upper body and then different parts of the lower body, and then we can take turns, because you don't want to have that situation where they like one set of bicep curls, like maybe 12 reps, and then they're like, okay, my biceps are tired, so now let's sit and wait. I'm like, I don't have patience for that. We got to keep you moving. It's only a half an hour. Like, you're done with your bicep curls, okay, now we're going to do some overhead presses. So that's the way that it works, and we usually manage to get quite a bit done. We get a full body workout most of the time, unless I'm working with someone who's got a particular thing where we're really focused on balance, or we're really focused on a certain issue that they have. And then sometimes, just for kicks, we do a workout that's all completely core, which they just, as you can imagine, love, right?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
then there's like a thousand different ways to do things. I never do the same workout twice. I like to switch things up. I don't know if you know what Tabata is.
Mm-hmm.
Tabata's timed exercise. So there's an app on my phone, and we do a lot of Tabata. It's fun. It allows them to do things at their own pace. It's since it's a time, we don't count how many reps you get. You just do how many reps it is for 20 seconds or 30 seconds, and that's a lot of fun. And it gets the heart rate up. So I make a lot of use of that. It's like a little mini hit workout.
So, what are some exercises they could do to help push themselves off the ground? Like you mentioned, rolling over onto your knees and your hands, and then
Right,
if you do get to the chair or to the couch, you're gonna have to, like you said, push up on the couch. So is that
right,
like
right.
is that
So
triceps they're working? Like, what do you have them do to help with that?
so yeah, so overhead tricep extensions,
Mhm.
tricep kickbacks, some bicep work a little bit too. The best exercise to do for that is for a normal person, right? Would be to do push-ups, right?
Mhm.
Because then you push yourself up from the ground. The problem is that when you're talking with older adults, push-ups become really difficult because there's often like shoulder and back issues.
Mhm.
It's extremely rare that I will have a client do push-ups on the floor. It's only my younger clients. But what we will do is we'll do wall push-ups,
Mhm.
or we'll do, I'll say, hey, find a desk or a table or something that's sturdy, that's not going to move. And we're going to do push-ups on the table or push-ups on a railing. That's a really good exercise. And then some of the tricep exercises as well. And then we, try to get some chest strength as well. We'll do like chest flies, reverse chest flies. We'll do supine chest press, just to keep that nice and strong.
Yeah. So what are some early signs or some warning signs that you see someone that's starting to lose strength? They're starting to lose that strength. They're starting to lose, the balance and mobility. Is there any signs that you see kind of early on that they're starting to get that way?
So, so with my clients, the goal is, I mean, with some clients, the goal is like, just let's maintain what you've got, right? Because they've been sedentary their whole lives, right? So there's sometimes I say to myself, like, I think the best we can hope for is like maintaining things. And I do work with several clients who have dementia. And the thought of like trying to like do major, hypertrophy is just like not, it's just not in the picture.
Hmm.
So what I try to do is do the kinds of things that will help them to maintain their independence, even though they may have cognitive decline. Um, so what happens is usually I get the phone call after someone has noticed that there's something that they can't do that they used to be able to do,
Hmm.
right? Or I get a phone call from children. This happens probably 50% of the time. Someone will say, my mom, my dad, whatever, all they're doing is sitting around, or he had a fall, or she had a heart attack, or this, that, and the other thing. And I just see them just like sort of, like withering away. Can you do anything? And I'm like, heck yeah, we can do something. There's a lot that can be done. And so that's how we actually, I would say, probably close to 50% of our first contacts are not the actual individual who's interested,
Hmm.
but a family member. And sometimes it's a spouse. Like I once had a client who called me, and I'll remember this as long as I live. She goes, I need help. She goes, my husband's decrepit. And she goes, he needs some help. He needs some help. And we gave him a lot of help. We gave him a lot of help. He did great. So yeah, that's but there are certain signs that you'll see, which is like, you know, falls becoming more frequent, um, like inability to lift certain things up, like finding it really hard to put dishes back up in the cabinet, or
Hmm.
like just feeling like I can't walk as long as I used to, like calling up and requesting one of those beep 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 carts at the airport, where you used to be able to walk to your gate. So those are kinds of things that people begin to notice, and they say, do I want to just like be on this downhill slide, or do I want to do something about it? So that's usually, those are the kinds of signs that people see. And luckily, by the time, when we start working with them, we usually see that decline stalls, or that they begin to go on an incline. They begin to improve.
Yeah, it's you mentioned your contacts normally somebody else first. I think that just
Yeah.
I think it's that just that generation. They don't want to ask somebody for help. It's probably what it is. Once they get that
Well,
older.
that's part of it. But the other thing is, I think there's a certain, I'm not going to say shame, but maybe embarrassment that
Hmm.
some people have never exercised. and they just feel like I can't start it now. It's going to be too judgy. Like if I go to the gym, there's people there who are in great shape and they're going to look at me and they're going to watch me. And that's like one of the beautiful things about my business is like I'm meeting you one on one. There's like no judgment. I mean, there might be judgment when I get in the car, but as that was a joke, right? As we're together, like I see where you are and I say like let's figure out what we can do here. But yeah, I think there is, there's a number of different reasons why people don't want to get started with it, and part of that is just learning to overcome that fear and that embarrassment of having been sedentary, and saying, you know what, you can do this. You can learn how to do this stuff, and you can do it at any age.
Yeah, I definitely could see how there would be like a sense of like embarrassment or shame that they let them get themselves to that point. I really think if you had somebody that was in very good shape when they were younger, or maybe they were an athlete or they did exercise, and then they let themselves go, and then they don't want to ask for help then because they're like, oh well, I was in this good place and now I'm not. So I could definitely
Right.
see that.
There's an added layer of feeling like they're mourning something that was, and they have to sort
Mm,
of work through that. I will tell you, I had a client, who, his family called me and they said, um, our father has, cancer. He's on hospice care, and we don't know how much longer he has left. But when he was young, he was a big cyclist, and he played high school and college football. And I think nothing would make him happier than to work with you. And he was in an assisted living facility that had a relatively nice gym in it. And he said, like, I think it would just like make him so happy. And his family bought him a 10 pack. And I worked with him 10 times. They bought another 10 pack. And before we could get the 11th one in, he did pass away. But it was really interesting because it's like such a weird thing to think about that, someone would want to get back to that even at that stage in their life. But man, it just made him feel so wonderful to come in the gym and just like pump a little bit of iron, even though he was really compromised health wise. But I'll always remember this guy. It was just an amazing, amazing experience to work with him 10 times.
yeah, there's something about just going in the gym and get you a good workout in. I love it.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
people ask me all the time how do you do that? Why do you do that? I'm like, I don't have to, like, I get to do this. Like, this is not something I have to do. I love
right,
going.
right.
I love going and working out. It's
I
it's
know when
I
I
enjoy it.
miss, I don't feel right.
It's like a
I don't
part of your
feel right if
routine.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't realize is fitness. Everybody thinks it's physical because obviously it's a physical thing you're doing. It's physical, but a lot of fitness is mental as well. Like, you don't. What people realize. I always say this. I've never walked out of the gym mad before. Like, I've never. You may go in the gym
Right.
mad, but when you come out, like, you're not mad anymore. It's a mental thing. I don't know. Some people say that you release endorphins and stuff when you work out, and
Yeah,
I don't know all the science.
absolutely.
I don't know all the science behind it, but it's definitely true though, because like I can't remember a time
Right.
I've
And
just
I
been mad.
think with, Murphy, with older adults, it's even more so because, as you get older, it's like it's a long, I mean, you're a young guy, right? But when you get older, you see it's like sort of this long path, hopefully long path of sort of losing things and mourning certain things, and saying, well, I'll never be able to do that again, or oops, I can't do that. And then to be able to come in the gym and start to do those things and feel that self-efficacy, like, yeah, I can do this, I can accomplish these things. It may not be what you did when you were younger, but it has a real tremendous effect on the mental health of older adults. There's a lot of depression because people have lost their partners. I mean, isolation of older adults in the United States is a huge problem. Older adults who are living alone and just, you know, don't have their friends have passed away or their friends have moved to Florida or wherever they go. And this is a real life changer for many older adults, especially if you go to a gym, where there's other people and you can see them. In my case, it's like I'm more than just a trainer. I'm also, we talk the whole time, like I know what's going on with their kids and with their grandkids, when they're going on vacation, and they know what's going on in my life. So we try to build that relationship, and it has a very positive effect on their mental health. And unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of research on that connection, but everything that's been done shows that it's not just the physical, right? It's the mental, and it's also what you referred to. It's like it's not just that immediate moment of the endorphins and making you feel better, but it's like this overall sense of doing something good for yourself and not giving up. Not giving up and just saying, okay, this is the way it's going to be, but saying, you know what, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out with a bang. I want to be 98 years old and slip on my surfboard and bang my head on a piece of coral, as opposed to, like pushing myself down the hallway at the age of 72 in a nursing home. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I really like that you're working with the older generation because they can make such a big turnaround in their life. They can make such an improvement. So like somebody that may not even be able to walk, like you can literally get them walking again if you know what you're doing it right. So they can make some real improvements. I think, like you mentioned a little bit, like they get so old or they get to a certain point to where it's so bad and they just kind of give in. They give up. They're like, well, I can't do that anymore. I can't walk anymore, or I can't walk without my cane, or I can't get up off the floor. Well, they can. A lot of them can make such big progress and they don't realize it. So I think people like you, like helping people realize and help them get to that place to where they can do those things now.
Yeah, and
I think
and
that's
have
great.
them focus less on what they can't do and what they
Hmm.
can do, what is possible. You may not be able to do a 2-minute plank, but
Hmm.
you might be able to do a 30-second plank, or there's let's focus on what you can do.
Hmm. Yeah, it's definitely different. There's levels to it. And when you're young, yeah, you can do all the cool things, all the cool workouts you see. But as you get older, those are not equivalent, and those ain't as it's not important to be able to do a bunch of push-ups when you get
Right,
older. You
right.
just want to be able to push yourself off the floor. That's
Yeah,
that's what
that's the
you that's
goal.
the win. Yeah. So I think I wanted to point this out. So like at the gym I work out at, it's a YMCA, and I don't know why, but it's just where all the older people work out. That's like the gym they work out at, and you mentioned earlier like the older generation, they're very loyal and they're very consistent. So like they're there every day, same time.
Right.
They never miss. They didn't change gyms to the new gym in town. They're still at the old gym where they've been at forever. And it's just so funny how that kind of generation works. They're definitely loyal. Like that's definitely one thing you can see, and they don't miss. Like they're the ones that enjoy the fitness. They're always there. Um, and one thing
Right.
that
And I think it's easy to get hooked on it, I think, as
Mhm.
long as you have the right people around you and you've got people who are welcoming you. And I think like YMCA's and JCCs, which are not for profit, those are great because they've got a mission of like bringing people in and building that sense of community. So yeah, I think that's a big part of it too. And if they're getting good exercise too, all the better.
it's the community is why I think they keep coming back and why they enjoy it so much because like they're always the ones that come at the same time every day. Obviously, they always see each other, so they've become friends. They all talk to each other, and it's
Right,
funny. It's
right.
funny to watch them because like they'll sit there and talk way more than they ever work out. Like they just sit there and chit chat back and forth, or they'll
Excuse
get
me, are
on.
you using this machine or are you just sitting there and talking, right?
Yeah, they'll just get beside each other and start talking. And they all
Yeah, I've been
friends.
there, done that.
Yeah, so it's you can definitely tell they enjoy it, and they're very consistent. And something that I've also realized is they don't work out like super hard. Like they're just doing what they can, but you can tell it helps them a lot. Like they're in very good shape, and it's just because they've been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years. Some of them they just go in there every day. They do the
Right. The
same thing.
consistency is more
Hmm.
important than the intensity, right? You
Yeah.
get some people who come in and they'll like the weekend warriors, like they just kill it on Saturday and Sunday, and the rest of the week it's nothing. But it's more important to just like keep that consistency because you're less
Hmm.
likely to injure yourself, and you just have to build that habit of like thinking about what are the healthy habits that I can do, and going each day to the YMCA is like one of those healthy habits. So you're absolutely right. There's a mindset there. Unfortunately, the vast majority of older adults are not are not doing that, right?
Hmm.
And there's a lot of reasons why they're not, but sometimes it's financial, or they live in areas where there isn't a gym that's easy to get to, or there's transportation issues. So, and I'm lucky. I have people for whom it's like hard for them to get out, but they know how to use Zoom, and so we train them online, and they love it.
Hmm. Yeah, you can definitely tell a difference between like the people that go to the gym and exercise at that age and the people that don't. Like
Yep.
it's just there's a big difference there in their health and their mobility, just overall functionality. You can definitely see a difference, even though they're not like lifting a bunch of weights. They're not doing nothing
Right.
crazy. They just
Absolutely.
do it every day. They
Absolutely.
just move their body every day, and they walk better. They're most of them. They're not using canes. They're not using walkers. They walk around freely, and it goes to show that that work does pay off, and it makes you have that what was it? Not freedom, but that what's the word? That
Independence.
yeah, it makes you have that independence up into your later ages of life,
Right.
and I think that's important.
Right. No, I always say the decisions that you make today are going to determine what your tomorrow looks like.
Absolutely. And you also said one thing about they may not be able to go for finances, but I will say this: the YMCA, you mentioned some nonprofit, they do. I don't know what the exact I don't know what the exact prices are, but I know if you have certain insurances at the YMCA, you can
Right.
actually get a membership for free or it's very cheap. I think some of them may be free. I don't know that. So if you are an older person listening, check your insurance and check with the local nonprofit. Maybe it's YMCA. They do offer. I think some of them even offer it free. I'm not 100. Don't quote me on that, but I know you get a,
Right.
a big
And there's
discount.
there's also a program that's available in a lot of places called Silver Sneakers,
Yep.
and that's
Mhm.
I believe that's through the federal government, and that's greatly reduces the cost of taking classes, and for my business at Home Senior Fitness, we don't take insurance. Where there's only one state where personal training is um, you can get a prescription from your doctor, and that's California. At least it used to be. But there are some insurance companies that say, we're willing to put $500 per year towards personal training for you. And, depending on if you're training once a week, $500 is going to take you, that'll get you some training.
Mhm. Yeah, that definitely. I think all insurances should help you pay for either a gym membership or personal training or some kind of health products to help you. I mean, it's just you need it. You need it as you get older. If you're not very active, it can go a long way and really help people. So I think that's great. I don't know what the exact prices are, so you'll have to look at your insurance, but definitely that's something to look into if you wasn't aware of it. All right, let's see.
Yeah. By the way, just on that thought of the price, some people say, like I don't know if I want to spend money on that, and I go like, you think about the things you money on, and the best investment that you can possibly make is in your own health, right?
Mhm.
And being proactive and preventive it's a lot cheaper to take care of yourself now than it is to be paying for a nursing home or hospital bills and stuff like that. And of course, there's no guarantees. You can get some virus, you can get some cancer, whatever, and there's no telling that. But in general, people who are remaining active and exercising have better health outcomes. It's just the way it works.
Absolutely. So, what are some things that people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, what are some things that you would recommend them not do as far as working out or exercising? Is there anything you see that may be a problem for that age group of people?
Yeah, I think so one of the things that happens is people often will like decide, like it's a New Year's resolution or something like that, and then they like jump in like
Hmm.
monsters, right? Just jump right in with both feet, and not a good idea. I mean, that's when you're most likely to injure yourself. It's really important for older adults to start slowly and figure out where they are. A lot of gyms will offer like an assessment or one free session with a personal trainer. And at the previous gym where I worked, they would give you a free session when you joined, and they would also allow you to like maybe get like 6 sessions and you could learn how to use all the machines and learn everything, and then you could go on your own. Some people like to have a trainer because then they get the consistency, but I think that's the biggest mistake, is to like just jump in and be like gangbusters, because you're going to hurt yourself, or you're going to be so
Mhm.
sore that you're like, I can't possibly take myself to the gym tomorrow because I hurt everywhere. And I think the other thing is to also be unrealistic about your expectations, right? If you think that you're going to look like, a cover model, um, after, a couple of months, you may not even look like a cover model after a couple of years. But the question is, what's your goal, right? If your goal is to be a cover model, okay, that's a different story altogether. But if your goal is to be able to be independent, to be able to take care of yourself and go on trips and continue to work, if that's what you want to do, it's really important that you continue to do this at a pace that's realistic.
Yeah, I agree with you on the just don't go in too hard. And the reason I say don't go in, especially people that have New Year's resolutions, is it's just not sustainable. Because most people go from doing nothing. Most of the time they're doing zero, and then they want
Right,
to crank it up and go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm like, you're not gonna go from 0 to 5 days a week and maintain that. Like you may do it for a month, but after a
right,
month, your willpower is gonna run out. You're not gonna keep doing
right,
that. So start way slower than you think, way slower. And another thing I like to tell people is don't think of in terms of results, like don't think in time frames of days, weeks, or months. Like you need to look in time frames of years. Like you didn't get over like most people trying to lose weight. You didn't get
right,
overweight in a week or in a month. It probably took you years or like
right,
a couple years to get overweight. You're not going to lose that weight in a month. You're not going to lose it in 6 months. It's going to take you a year plus, to get where you want. So like, go ahead and get that time frame out of your head. I think that messes with a lot of people because they think they need to be where they want to be a lot earlier and a lot sooner than what they really are. And then when they don't get there, they get in their head and they end up quitting. Like they don't stick with it. So I like
right,
to extend people's time frames. It takes a lot longer than people realize. Like this is not something you just do overnight. It's going to take you time and consistency. Like most people you see them and you're like, oh yeah, like that dude is fit. Like he's probably been working out for 10 plus years.
that is correct.
Like he's been
Yes.
doing it for a long
Yeah.
time. Like
Right.
a lot of like people that you work with, like your age clientele, like those people that are in shape, like they probably been doing it for 40 years. They've been probably working out for a long time. That's not something they just started doing and changed their body in a year or two. Like
Right.
it takes
Right.
it takes time and you have to be consistent with it. So like you gotta rein in your expectations a little bit. Bring it down a notch. I think
Right.
people
And the, in terms of like, that's what not to do. I mean, I think the other thing to do is, you know get someone to do it with you,
mhm,
right? If you're starting out, like either your partner or a neighbor or a friend, you're always more successful when you're working out with someone else. And the other thing I think also is, this is self-serving on my part, but I think, personal trainers are really great.
mhm.
It is an expense, but as I said, it's a great investment. And it depends where you are. I mean, I know what the prevailing wages are here in the Cleveland area, but I can tell you in New York and LA, it's a lot more. And Miami, some of these markets, it's just outrageous. But in most of the Midwestern markets and in the South, you can find some things that are pretty reasonable, and it will get you on the right path and teach you how to do things the right way so that you don't hurt yourself. I mean, the last thing you want to do is start exercise and then find yourself in worse shape than you started because you just weren't doing things correctly.
Absolutely. I recommend people getting a fitness, I mean, not a fitness, a personal trainer when they first start, simply because it cuts that learning window down a lot. Because, like, if you do it on your own, it's going to take you a while to learn because you're probably going to do a lot of things wrong and then you have to relearn it.
Right.
So there's a trial and error process of learning it. And some people like to do it that way. They like to do it the hard way, and that's cool. But like if you hire a personal trainer, you can cut that window down a lot. Like you
Right.
can
So listen,
learn
I
a
will
lot
tell you,
faster.
Murphy, when you're young and you make those mistakes, okay, it's one thing, right?
Yeah.
When you're 70 years old and you make that mistake, it's
You may pay for it.
Right. You may pay for it for a very
Hmm.
long time. So yeah, I do. It's very self-serving to me, but I do feel like personal trainers have a very important role to play.
Yeah, absolutely. But then again, on that same note, you have to be careful with who you hire. Do a little research on people before you hire them, because some people don't necessarily know what they're doing. A lot of times, or they may know what they're doing for a certain type of client, but if you don't fit their their clientele, they may not be able to help you as much, or they may tell you to do something that may not be right for you. So
Right,
that's why I
right. No,
like
you
yeah.
gotta ask them about what specializations they have, what kind
Hmm.
of experience they have, and then I also think it's good to talk. If they'll give you the name of a couple of their clients, who they've been training to, get an idea from them of what it's like.
Hmm. Absolutely, yeah. Because there's so many different types of people and clients you could have out there, and it's like most people do specialize in something. Like you have you specialize in the older age group, so it's definitely important depending on who you are, depending on what your goal is, depending on the experience level of the trainer. But for the most part, personal trainers will start to kind of weed themselves out, because if you're not good at it, you ain't gonna make it very long. Not in personal training. It's a very tough job to do. So I have a lot of respect for personal trainers, because it's very hard, and it's very hard to be successful at it. And if you're not good at it, you're not gonna last very long, because you're
Right.
not gonna make a living wage off of it. But the ones who are good at it, they can make good money. Yeah. So let's I want to ask you, what should somebody who is, say, 50 years old, they're not quite, that older age yet, but
Right.
they're getting up there. They're starting to age. Just probably got a few little pains here and there, backache, little here, maybe have a bad ankle, bad knee, something there. What are some things that, like, people 50 in their 50s should start doing now, or continue doing, to help them, you know, stay healthy, keep that muscle they already have, to keep the mobility they already have, to kind of maintain what they have now as they get older, so they don't start to lose muscle, lose balance, lose mobility,
Right.
so they can't pick
Right.
themselves up off the floor.
So look, the first thing to always do if you haven't worked out in a while, or you have never worked out, is like definitely talk with your primary care physician first and find out what limitations you might have, especially if you've had certain surgeries or certain conditions. People are like on blood pressure medications. There's certain things you have to be careful about. So, but I would say, look, the standard that we talk about is that you should have 150 minutes per week of exercise, and so 2.5 hours. So I think for people who are not at that hours, you definitely figure out how you're going to get to that 2.5 hours a week. So it could be a half an hour a day for 5 days. It could be 45 minutes, 3 days a week, whatever, to get yourself to that number. And then make sure you've got a good mix uh, of cardio as well as resistance training. A lot of older adults just feel like, oh, I'm walking, and walking is great, but you need to do resistance training as well, which means using weights or using those machines, because you're going to lose muscle mass if you don't use it. When we're younger, we're doing a lot, we're traveling, we're carrying suitcases, or we're at work, and there's things that we're doing. As we get older, we may slow down and not do those things as much. So it's important to keep those muscles in shape. It's like your metabolism doesn't slow because you're getting older. It's like you're getting older. I mean, wait, I got that reversed. Your metabolism slowing isn't what's making you older. It's like the fact that you're moving less is what's lowering your metabolism, right? So
Hmm.
people have it backwards. They think, oh, I'm moving less because my metabolism is slowing, but it's a circular reasoning. The more you keep moving, the higher your metabolism will be.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I get that a lot. I have very high metabolism, and people always wonder how I eat so much. I'm like, you don't understand how much I move during the day.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. We're running close to our time here, so I want to see, if you had to leave your people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, if you had to leave them, one piece of advice, what would you say to them?
Um, the most important thing is it's never too late to get started.
Hmm.
Never. And it doesn't matter what your physical condition is, even if you're, even if you're confined to a wheelchair, there's still stuff that you can do, right? And that's the thing. People think, oh, it's just too late. I'm too old for this. It's all the research shows that it's never too late. You can always start and make an improvement. And I think that's the biggest myth. People just feel like I'm too old. No, you're not. You just got to find the right thing to do, get someone to help you out, and keep yourself moving.
Now, what about the younger generation? What would you say to them? Like 20s, 30s, 40s?
Yeah, again, the
Same
choices
thing.
you make today are going to determine what your tomorrow looks like. Build those
Absolutely.
healthy habits now. We've got a big problem in our country with obesity, with people's sedentary behavior, and especially video games and people on their phones and so
Hmm.
forth. You got to work into your schedule, taking care of yourself. Even when you think like, oh, I'm active, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You've got to develop those healthy habits now because those need to be lifelong healthy habits, and you'll thank me later, right?
Absolutely. So if somebody only had 10 minutes a day to exercise, what would you tell them to do if they only had 10 minutes?
I would say probably 4 days out of those 10. If you had 7 days and 10 minutes, 4 days I would do some kind of cardio, keep moving, dancing, riding a bike, going for a brisk walk, getting on a rowing machine, something like that. And then the other 3 days, grab some dumbbells. If you've got a gym membership, and I work with people at home, right? Grab some dumbbells, do some lower body exercises. There's all kinds of resources out there. I have a video that I've got out that's called Senior Strength for Better Walking. That's just one. I mean, there's Apple Plus TV has, there's all kinds of workouts out there. They're on YouTube, they're on Udemy, they're on all these different platforms. Um, and you can find something that works to your fitness level. So I would say probably 3 days a week of doing resistance training, and 4 days a week of doing things just to get your heart going.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that answer. If you would, just let everybody know where they can find you. If you have any social medias or how they can get contact you if they want to hire you for as a
My gosh,
coach.
yeah. Well, my website is At Home Senior Fitness, all one word, At Home Senior Fitness.net, Net. And so you can have access there to the video series that I just spoke to you about, Senior Strength for Better Walking. I've also got a blog, which is called Kosher Fitness. It's kosher-fitness.com, or I'm not sure. It's on the website, and I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. And if you just Google Senior Fitness Ohio, I mean, if you're in Ohio, I'm the first one who comes up. But if you're in another state, just Senior Fitness Ohio or Cleveland, Ohio, and I should be your search engine optimized. You should find me.
Awesome. I'm really glad I got to talk to you today. I really learned a lot for the older generation, and hopefully the people got something from it too. I don't know how many older people I have. Listen, I don't think it's very many, but I hope the younger. I lost him. He left. Oh well. Well, I guess I guess we'll give him a minute to see if he comes back. Um, yeah, that's funny. I guess he lost connection, but oh well. Yeah, so hopefully if y'all are listening, hopefully y'all got something to this. And if you're, there we go. I lost you for a second.
What happened there?
It's all good. You probably lost him again. All right. Well, we're having some technical difficulties. It's okay. It happens. It's the internet. It ain't the first time it happened. It's not going to be the last time it happened. But yeah, if you're the older generation, I mean, if you're a younger generation, I want you to hear what he talked about today and how fitness can affect your life at that age. So imagine if you are that age, like imagine if you're younger now, imagine what fitness could do for your life now, at a younger age. Imagine you could prevent having a lot of those issues that people experience when they're older. You can prevent that a lot if you start now. Like start building those healthy habits now. And you don't have to do anything like crazy. You don't have to go to the gym 5 days a week. You don't have to lift 500 pounds. You don't have to run a marathon. Like you don't have to do those things. Those things are cool. Don't get me wrong. And I like doing those things. And they're accomplishments for a lot of people. They're accomplishments for me, but that's not like what it takes to be, healthy. That's above and beyond. You don't have to take it to that extent. We just got to start building healthy habits, moving our body. He mentioned the 150 minutes of exercise a week. I like that. That's great. Moving our body, getting exercise every week, working on our food. Food's huge. Like, try to work on eating some healthier food, some whole foods. Try to cut out some of the processed food that's in your diet. Like, I mean, y'all have heard this time and time again, but it goes a long way. And if you start those habits now, start developing that now, one, you'll start to see your health get better now. But two, that will extend up into your later ages of life. And you'll have a much better, quality of life as you get older. And that's the goal. Like, we don't just want to live to 100. If yeah, living to 100 would be cool. But if you're in a bed from 90 to 100, then like you just live 10 years in a bed. Like, do you really want to do that? Probably not. You want to have that quality of life. Like, we want to live up into our later ages and still be able to be independent, still be able to move, get up off the ground, walk on our own, things like that. So quality of life is just as important as, just living older. So that's what we want to do. Start building those habits now at whatever age you're at, because it's not, you heard him, it's not too late, and do it now, so we can prevent, having those issues later in life. But yeah, I guess he's having some issues, so I guess he's not going to get back on. That's cool. We're going to end the podcast here. I hope y'all have a great day. Get after it this week. If you have any questions, shoot me a DM, Murphy McFit, on all social medias. Follow the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. I really appreciate it. It's the Fitness Beginner Podcast. We're on, all podcasting platforms. We're on YouTube, Facebook. Well, it's just my personal Facebook, but yeah, LinkedIn, wherever. You can get anywhere. Subscribe on YouTube. I appreciate it. And y'all be sure to tune in next week for another episode of the Fitness Beginner Podcast. Y'all have a great day.